In this unit, we're going to be talking about exponent properties. So on the first one, we have a product rule that says x raised to the a times x raised to the b equals x raised to the a plus b. So what you need to know from this rule is that if you are multiplying, you add your exponents together. So we didn't change x. We didn't make it 2x. Okay. We left it as x because the coefficient in front of each x would be a 1, and 1 times 1 is just 1. Okay, so if you happen to have a coefficient, you multiply those together, but 1 times 1 is still 1. And then the exponents, the little bitty powers, you add those together. So let's try some. So on my first example here, we have x to the second times x to the third. Well, they would have magic little coefficients of 1, and 1 times 1 is 1, which you don't have to worry about writing. And then for your exponents, you add them together. So 2 plus 3 would give me x raised to the 5th power. Okay, going across. Now, when you go across, you have a to the 9th power times a. Well, that second a, there isn't an exponent there. Okay, so if there's not an exponent listed, you need to make sure that you remember the exponent is a 1. So I would go ahead and write that magic little 1 there. And then once again, coefficients, 1 times 1 is 1, which we don't have to worry about writing. And then exponents, a raised to the 9 plus 1, which 9 plus 1 is going to give me a to the 10th power. Okay, so now let's start throwing in some coefficients other than 1. So on my third example here, your coefficients are 5 and 3. Okay, so multiply your coefficients together. So 5 times 6 is 30. And then you're going to add your exponents. So 2 plus 4 makes it x to the 6th. So your final answer is 30 x to the 6th power. Okay, go straight across. Now, it doesn't always have to have the times dot. So instead of the times dot, we just have parentheses. The two parentheses mean the same thing. So we're going to multiply your coefficients. So 3 times 5. And then we're going to add our exponents. So 6 plus 2. So that will give me an answer of 15x to the 8th power. So when you look at these, you're going to notice in the next one, we've just beefed it up a little bit by putting more than one variable. So instead of only having x's, you now have x, y. So multiply your coefficients. So 8 times negative 3. Add your exponents for x, and your exponents for x are 4 plus 4. And add your exponents for y, which is 2 plus 9. So you should get a final answer of negative 24, x to the 8th, y to the 11th. Okay, the last one in this category. This time, instead of just multiplying 2 items together, we're going to multiply 3 items together. So still start by multiplying all the coefficients together. So 2 times negative 5 times 3. And for y, Remember, the first y doesn't have an exponent. So if it doesn't have an exponent, that means you have to put in the magic little 1 as your exponent. So add your exponents together. 1 plus 2 plus 3. So that will give me a final answer of negative 30y to the 6th power. Okay, the second rule we're going to talk about today, we are going to have a power rule instead of a product rule. So a power rule means that you have an power or exponent inside the parentheses, and you also have an exponent or power on the outside of the parentheses. So here, you're just going to multiply. So you got to remember, power raised to a power, you times the exponents. So I'll say it again. Power raised to a power, you times the exponents. So for this one, I got a 2 inside the parentheses, a 5 outside the parentheses. So I would take 2 times 5, which would give me x to the 10th power. Now, on the second parentheses, the c doesn't have an exponent, so don't forget to put the magic little 1 there. So for c, you would take 1 times 3. So remember, power inside times power outside. And d, you would do 2 times 3. So that will give me the answer of c to the 3rd, d to the 6th. Okay, on to the back side. On the back side, do you notice that negative 4 is not inside the parentheses? So we're just going to leave that negative 4 alone. Leave it alone, put it off to the side. For m, it doesn't have an exponent, so make sure you put in a magic little 1. So for m, you would have 1 times 3. And for n, you would have 4 times 3. So that will give me a final answer of negative 4, m to the 3rd, n to the 12th. Straight across. This time you will notice the coefficient of 2 is inside the parentheses. So we also have to do this with the coefficient. The 2 doesn't have an exponent, so make sure you put in the magic little 1 for the 2. So that's 2 raised to the 1 times 5. X would be 2 times 5. Y doesn't have an exponent, so make sure you put in a magic little 1 for your exponent for y. So y to the 1 times 5. Okay, for 2, 2 raised to the 1 times 5 is 5. So now on your calculator, take 2 raised to the 5th power. Or you could do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 5 times. And that will give you 32. Now, if you're not sure how to type that in on your calculator, when you're using the calculator, you should have a little button on your calculator that kind of looks like a roof of a house. So if you hit that button and then you type in 5 after it, it should spit out 32 for you. And then for x, you would have 2 times 5, which is 10. And for y, 1 times 5, which is 5. Okay, so now all we're going to do is we're just going to make the problems a little bit more challenging as we go by throwing more things at you. For these problems, I would always start with the ones that have a power outside the parentheses first. So on the first one, you're going to go x to the 3rd times 3, y to the 3rd times 3. That will give me x to the 9th, y to the 9th. then you're going to multiply that by x y to the second. Remember, if that x doesn't have a power, make sure you put in the magic little 1. And this time we're multiplying. So you got to remember our first rule. If you are multiplying, you add exponents. So for x, you would take 9 plus 1, which would give me x to the 10th power. And for y, you take 9 plus 2, which would give you y to the 11th power. Okay, you pause the video and go try the one straight across from it. Okay, so hopefully you check your answer. Now, when you're doing this one toward the very end, you're going to notice that you only have b to the 4th. You don't have any other b's. So there's not anything to add to that b to the 4th. So I left that alone. All right. Moving on. So I'm going to start with the first parentheses. So I'm going to put in my magic little exponents of 1 for anything that doesn't have it. So that's going to be negative 2 raised to the 1 times 2. A raised the 1 raised to the 2 times 2, and b raised to the 2 times 2. So that's going to be negative 2 to the 2nd power, a to the 2nd power, and b to the 4th power. Now, a to the 2nd power. You have to remember with negative numbers, whenever you use negative numbers, please put them in parentheses on your calculator. So I would start by opening my parentheses, type in negative 2, close my parentheses, and raised, so the little roof of the house key, 2. And if you do that, you should get a positive 4. Because remember, negative 2 to the 2nd power is just like saying negative 2 times negative 2, which is positive 4. So now let's go over and do the second parentheses. So I'll put my magic little 1s there. So that would be 3 raised to the 2 times 1, a raised to the 2 times 2, b raised to the 2 times 1. So 3 raised to the 2nd, a raised to the 4th, b raised to the 2nd. Positive numbers, it doesn't matter if you put them in parentheses or not. That's totally your option. But if it helps you just to remember to always use parentheses, then type that in. And you would get positive 9, a to the 4th, b to the 2nd. So now we've got it down to multiplication. So for multiplication, go ahead and multiply your coefficients. So 4 times 9 is 36. And when you're multiplying, you add your exponents. So 2 plus 4 is a to the 6th. And b would be 4 plus 2, which would be b to the 6th. All right. Let's go to the next one. So you're going to have 6, and then multiply your exponents. 1 times 3 is 3. For a, multiply your exponents. So 2 times 3 is 6. And b, multiply your exponents. 1 times 3 is 3. So I'm trying to slim down the work a little bit by cutting some of the steps out for you. Next thing I would do on my calculator is take 6 raised to the third power. So on your calculator, you're going to take 6 times 6 times 6. Or if you want to use the caret key, then make sure you go ahead and use the caret key on your calculator as well. So when I type that into my calculator, I come up with 216. Oh, whoops. Sorry, my pen got a little crazy there. Oh, whoa. It's really going crazy. So 216, a to the 6th, b to the 3rd. On the other side, I would put in my magic little ones. So for 1/3, 1 times 2 is 2. For A, 1 times 2 is 2. For B, 1 times 2 is 2. And for C, 1 times 2 is 2. So now on my calculator, I'm going to type in 1/3 raised to the 2nd with the house key, or you're going to type in 1/3 times 1/3, which will give me 1/9. A to the 2nd, B to the 2nd, C to the 2nd. So now on my calculator, I'm going to take 216 times 1/9. So multiply your coefficients and you get 24. Add your exponents. So for A, 6 plus 2 is 8. And for B, 3 plus 2 is 5. There's nothing to add to the C, so we're going to keep the C to the 2nd the same. Okay, so now on the last row, just going to start with the first parentheses. So that would be 3 to the 4th, x, 3 times 4 is 12, y, 1 times 4 is 4. And then I'm going to type in 3 to the 4th power on my calculator, which is 81. Okay, go to the middle one. So that would be 7 raised to the 2nd, x raised to the 10th, and y raised to the 2nd. So remember to multiply your exponents. 7 to the 2nd power is 49. And then my last one. There is no parentheses or anything with that, so there's no multiplying of powers, so I'm just going to leave that alone. So here I'm going to multiply my coefficients together. So 81 times 49 times 1 is 3,969. And then when you're multiplying, you're going to add exponents. So 12 plus 10 plus 2 will give me x to the 24th. Add your exponents for y. 4 plus 2 plus 2 is y to the 8th power. All right, pause the video and you try the last one here by yourself. So that will give me 24, and then add your exponents for a. So 24a to the 12th. All right, I got 4 problems here now that you've done the notes that I want you to go through and try by yourself. And then we will go over these 4 when I see you in class. Thanks.